let me see. Here we go. All right, there we go. Hi, everybody. This is Tamara from Moogly. As always, struggling a little bit with technology, but super excited to be with you here live. It is the very end of the year, 2022. Just one more day to go. But that means it is time to wrap up Moogly Crochet Along 2022 and start talking about the Moogly Crochet Along for 2023. So, hi, everybody. Hi, Carolyn, Dizzy, Lizzie, Angela, everybody who's tuning in today. We're trying to broadcast a few different places, so hopefully you're seeing this wherever you are. And of course, this broadcast will also go up embedded on the post on mooglyblog.com today, which has all the details that I'm going to talk about today, all spelled out for you. So you don't have to take notes or anything today. It's all spelled out, like I say, on mooglyblog.com on today's post. It's linked in the description wherever you're watching this video. So all the information will be up for you as well, all spelled out if you don't want to stop and, just watch this video to get it. But I wanted to show off this year's finished blanket and talk a little bit about next year and just check in with you guys one more time here before the end of the year. As always, it's been a fantastic year, and I am so grateful to all the designers. I will not try and name them all off the top of my head because I'm sure to miss somebody. But thank you all so much for contributing another fantastic square for the year. And I cannot wait to see what everybody comes up with for 2023. We've got one or two new designers. We've got some old favorites. We've definitely got the people I know people get really excited about. And it's going to be so much fun again. In fact, I've already got the first square design turned into me. I still need to make it. I'm going to be doing it this weekend because I just finished my Moogly Crochet Along 2022 blanket yesterday. And by finished, I mean I put the border on. I have not yet finished weaving in all the ends. I did weave in the ends on my squares as I went this year, but, joining them together and then doing the border, there's a few more left to go. So that is done, but, I'll weave in my ends a little bit later. Trying to get through this week. It's kind of been that weird no man's land, between Christmas and New Year's and the Hanukkah and everything's finished. But it's still, a crazy time of year. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Hi, everybody. Hi, Angela, Julie, Heidi, DJ. Let's see. Caroline's already started her 2023. That's awesome. Hi, Eileen, Elaine, Ann, Lisa, Julie, Rosetta. Thank you all so much for joining us. So first things first, let's finish 2022, and then we'll talk about 2023. 2022, I have finished mine, like I say, just yesterday, except for the ends. So if you see ends sticking out the back, don't be surprised. There are plenty of them. Let me get it turned around. Now that it's full-sized, it's so huge to try and hold up on camera. But here is an idea of how mine came together here. And there's pictures, of course, on the blog post where you can actually see it laid out a little more flat. There are those ends in the back I haven't woven in yet. But I really love the way this year's came together. Every square that I made them, as I made them throughout the year, I always made sure the last round was in the pewter. So then I used the pewter to join it together. Let's see if we can hold that up there a little closer. So this is the tight braid join, which it has a tutorial. It's a joining method I came up with, just really a variation on a lot of the other joins out there. But I like this one because it's a little tighter together than some of the other ones. And then this is the windows border. I did the first round in pewter again, and then the second round in the white. I just thought it's really kind of set off the blanket nicely without, overemphasizing any one color, I guess, was my thought process. But this one is done for the year. So again, wonderful year. I think it'd be really hard pressed to pick a favorite square. I don't know about you guys. Did you guys have a favorite square? They're all so beautiful, honestly. And of course, there's ones I like better than others. We all have our favorites, but just one favorite. I don't know that I could pick just one favorite this year. There's so many that I really loved. I love the floral ones, the really typical center out floral ones, but I like the ones that are really different too. Like even this one right here, I want to say this one was by Umbauka Design, but I'm probably misremembering. So I apologize if I do. But whoever came up with this one, simplest stitches, absolutely. But I just love the effect. So many great squares this year, always classics. Gosh, I remember there was one. I always put some of my favorite ones in the middle too. But I loved the, look at that one. Remember that one, the Celtic join or Celtic knot square. This one, oh my gosh, this one was one of the prettier lacy ones too. I really love this one. This one, the color play was just gorgeous. So like I say, lots of gorgeous squares. I designed one of them for 2022. We've got a full schedule for 2023, but I did design one of them for 2022. Where'd it go? There we are, the heart square, the heart-filled square, and that turned out to be my most popular pattern for 2022. I think it had a lot to do with the crochet along, but this was the square I came up with for this year. So it's just been another wonderful adventure. A little bit of yarn left over. I always have a bit of yarn left over at the end, but it's better, I always say, to have too much than too little. So this one is done. Now the squares aren't going anywhere. This crochet along has been going since 2014. So the patterns will stay up. That's one of the deals. The first couple years, I didn't know to ask. Now I know to ask. One of the deals is when you sign up to be a designer for this crochet along, the designer promises to keep the pattern forever free and available. So if they get rid of their blog, they're supposed to add a free downloadable PDF of it to Ravelry. So the first couple years, I didn't know to ask for that. I do know to ask for it now. So from now on, for the last few years at least, all the squares should be up forever free and available online as long as this internet of ours keeps going the way it is. So you can come back and visit those squares in the years to come. So moving on to 2023. Let's put that one side. Hi, everybody. All right, I just want to check the comments here, see if anybody had any questions. Thank you. Oh, and thank you, the Mary Atelier. That's one of those words I've read a million times and I have no idea how to say it. So, yes, absolutely. And somebody just said, Baskerville said, I'm considering joining and I want to use my stash. That's absolutely perfect. This is a great stash busting type of project. 24 12-inch squares. Use any colors you want. Use any yarn you want. I recommend that if you want it to be 12 inches, that you use a 4 medium worsted or Aran weight. Basically, you want to look for the 4 symbol on the yarn. Oop, there it goes into focus. Then you're going to get 12-inch squares. Some people, especially people in the UK where DK weight yarn is a lot more popular, they prefer to use the DK weight yarn, and then they get 10-inch squares. Not a problem, of course. These are squares, not sweaters. It's all for a blanket, so it just means the end finished size of your blanket will be a little different. So if you really wanted to use something like Bernat blanket and make these squares really huge, make a big old couch blanket like we've been seeing at Costco lately, you can definitely do that too. It's totally up to you. So let's talk a little bit more detail. We'll try and do it in order here on 2023. I've got lots of notes. So we've got 24 different professional crochet designers designing for 2023. The posts will come out, as always, every 2 weeks. So that's every 2 Thursdays. So the first day will be January 5th. Let me turn to my schedule here. The first one will be January 5th, and then there will be another January 19th, then February 2nd and February 16th, then 3 in March, just because the way it works out, the 2nd, 16th, and 30th, and so on and so on. So I've got the full schedule posted on the post that went up today on Moogly. The last square will not be on a Thursday, as always. The last square is the Wednesday before American Thanksgiving, because otherwise that last square would land right on Thanksgiving. And this way we release it the day before, so you can print it out, take it with you if you're traveling, have it for the holiday weekend. So that will be the schedule for 2023. Very similar to all the years previous. Let's see. Of course, like I say, there will be 24 brand new patterns for this crochet along, but you are welcome to add to that, substitute in. You don't have to make those 24 patterns. This isn't like a strict, like, these are the ones you must make. This is for fun. This is for learning. This is for all of us to try some new designers, try some new patterns, try some new stitches, and just have fun and make a beautiful blanket. So if you come across a square over the course of the year that just isn't to your taste, maybe it's too floral and you wanted to do something really graphic, or it's really graphic and you were going for something really light and lacy and floral, or it's just too heavy and you wanted something lighter, whatever the reason may be. Maybe it just uses a stitch you don't like. That's fine. We don't need to get upset at the designer or anything, or complain about a square that isn't to our taste. There's years upon years of squares to go back and choose a substitute square that you love. You can choose a past square. There are some of the designers that participate design other squares. That's just what they like to design. They've got some beautiful designs out there. Definitely go grab one of their designs and substitute in the ones you want. So with 24 squares, approximately 12 inches by 12 inches, that means you've got a few options. You can turn that into what I did and what I typically do, which is a 4-foot by 6-foot blanket. Now, once you add the edgings and the border and the joins and all that, ends up being a little bit bigger than that. How much bigger? Depends on the border and the edging you choose. I talked about the joining method and the border I used, but this is another opportunity for you to customize your blanket. You get to choose your yarn, you get to choose your yarn colors, you get to choose ultimately which squares you want to make for the year, and of course, how you want to join it and how you want to border it. These are the individual touches that everybody likes to do to their blankets and really makes them each unique. So all those things are sort of up to you. The designers will all be using either Red Heart with Love, which is what I've been using for the past few years and I will be using again this year, or this year I've given them another option, which is Caron 1 pound. Caron 1 pound, if you haven't used it before, I think it's a little bit rougher, honestly, than Red Heart with Love. I think Red Heart with Love is a little bit softer to the touch, but it is another great alternative. It's the same weight. It's a great substitute. If you wanted to combine them, you absolutely could. They're both 4 worsted weight, the medium weight. And this way there's just more colors. Red Heart with Love, I think, used to have a lot more colors than it currently does have available. For whatever reason, not my choice. That Caron 1 pound has quite a few colors. So I really wanted to open it up to have just some more color options for people. And like I say, they're a pretty good substitute for one for the other. And of course, you can use whatever, do some stash busting, go through all your bits and bobs of leftover 4 worsted weight yarn, and you can definitely throw it into squares too. If you're looking for color inspiration, you're of course welcome to look at what I've done, look at what other designers have done, but definitely you'll want to check out the squares that have already been posted in the Moogly Crochet Along Afghan group there on Facebook, the Moogly Afghan group. The people in there do amazing work. Their squares are beautiful. I'll admit, there's been years I've trolled through those pictures going, ooh, I love that color scheme. I'm going to borrow that for the next year. Beautiful inspiration there, not only for the colors, but for the stitches, and of course, help. So if you are someone who is newer to crochet or hasn't done something like this before, it's an excellent opportunity to elevate your skills and learn a lot more. But joining that group is even better, because then you've got people who are also working through that pattern at the same time as you and can really help you if you have any trouble or if you're getting stuck. I mean, I try and help, of course. The designer can try and help, but we're individuals, right? We've still got to sleep and eat and spend time with our kids and live a life and run a business. So if you want that immediate help, if you want somebody who's working through it with you at that same time, that group is a fantastic resource. So please do check that out. And like I say, just great inspiration there. And then you can see what they look like. If somebody's done a stash buster, there's some great stash busters posted there. Every year, 1 or 2 people do them all in one color, which is also really beautiful and a great option. So like I say, you can definitely check that out if you want some more inspiration there. Yes, everybody. Oh, good. Red Heart with Love. Yeah, it's Red Heart with Love is my favorite for Afghans because it's soft. It's really just feels good, but it's also so washable and dryable and easy care and no dye lot. So that's another thing to consider too. If you are using a yarn if you're not stash busting and it's got dye lots, then you may want to go ahead and purchase all your yarn up front if that's important to you. With squares, the dye lot thing tends to be a little less important, but like if you were doing all one color, then the dye lot thing would be really obvious. So another option there. I think it would be really fun too if you did want to do it without the color changes. You could use something like an ombre or a self-striping yarn. You still get some of those effects without having to weave in all those ends and make all those color changes. So like I say, lots and lots of options there. You could even use just regular Red Heart Super Saver if you wanted to. Let's see. So there's the yarn. This year, like I say, I will be using Red Heart with Love. And my colorways, my color choices, there we go. This year, I'm going with these really neutral grays. Now, in the past, I have done some very, very colorful Afghans. I've done some that by the end of the year, I was wondering if I would made them for Barnum and Bailey's. Put it that way. And then I've done some that were like a riff on the color blue. I think one year I did different shades of purple. And this year, I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to try going really, really neutral. And then I also thought this would serve a really interesting double purpose. when I make up my squares, I try to have them done always before the post goes out so that you have an example, the one the designer made and then the one I did. So just, right away, you're seeing the square made, 2 different colorways, 2 different looks. This way, my hope is that my squares will not only offer another neutral option, probably very different than what the designers will come up with. I expect theirs to be very colorful. Mine will not only offer that neutral option, but I'm hoping it will kind of act almost like a blank coloring page. And that's something we've had a request for in years past. Some sort of coloring page for the squares for people to design and plot out their colors. So my hope is that by making them basically in grayscale, hard to pick up 3 skeins at once. There we go. My hope is that by making them in this grayscale, my squares will kind of almost act like a little coloring page for you guys to be able to help plot out and plan your color scheme for each square a little bit easier. A little strange, I know, but I think it'll be fun. Oh, good. You guys are liking it too. It's funny. Over the years, I've gotten a lot of support for using gray sometimes, and then other times I've gotten a lot of flack for using gray. So I never know how it's going to go over. But thank you so much, Mandy. I love the neutrals too. I think it's really going to be a lot of fun. Lily asks, have you ever thought of doing this in Tunisian crochet? I've thought about it, but I'll be honest, Tunisian isn't my specialty. I enjoy it. Certainly, I don't do a whole lot of it. There is, in fact, if you really want a Tunisian crochet along, that I would recommend checking out the year-long crochet along by Knitter Knotter. That's KN Knitter Knotter. So that is a Tunisian crochet along, very similar to this one. She consulted me, I think, a little bit on setting up hers. So it's very similar, 12-inch squares throughout the year. I don't know the exact specifics, but I believe that one is 100% Tunisian. So if you're looking for a Tunisian option, I would definitely check hers out. I don't think we'll have any Tunisian ones this year, but I don't give the designers a whole lot of direction. It's kind of up to them what they want to do with their squares. So we don't know. Maybe we'll have one thrown at us. That said, they are requested to all use a J 6mm crochet hook. So the Tunisian is unlikely, but maybe. So as I was saying, they'll be using the 4 worsted weight yarns. I will be using it, and the designers and I will all be using a J hook. So that's a 6mm crochet hook for all our squares. If you go back on this crochet along, I'm going to say 3 or 4 years. We've been going for so many years now. It's hard to remember. 3 or 4 years ago, I did switch. We did start out using an I hook, and then we switched to using a J hook. But I had noticed over those years we used the I hook that the squares tended to be a little stiffer, and that a lot of people were having trouble just getting them to lay right and look nice. I think the J is just more successful. That said, you should use whatever size makes you happy. Again, these are crochet squares. I recommend that you stick to the same hook size throughout the crochet along, because then when you go to join the squares together, the little loops, along the side are going to be the same size, and it's going to make joining them together a little bit easier. But if you want to use an I the whole time because you crochet really loosely, or if you want to use a K because you tend to crochet really tightly, totally up to you. If you're using a DK or a different weight of yarn, then you should absolutely change the hook size to suit the yarn that you are using. So let's see. Jump down here. So yay. Oh, I'm glad. Yes. And yes, Jennifer, this is the work from home cardigan. Thank you very much. Jennifer LeClaire, thank you for your comment. Jennifer made one as well, and hers is purple and absolutely gorgeous. Happy holidays to everybody. Have the squares been announced? The squares have been announced in that they're coming, but you don't get to see them until it's their time. So I keep the actual designer list close to the vest. So it's a little bit of a surprise, because once in a while the designers have a lot going on in their life and they might release the square a month early. It's still new to our crochet along. It's new to us, but sometimes they have to release it a little bit early. So we keep that secret so people don't kind of jump on it ahead of time. So the squares, it's happening. This is the announcement, but I'm not showing off any of the individual squares because as far as I know, only the one has actually been designed. They are definitely, the designers tend to just crochet those, I think, as their time comes up closer. So, oh, yep, somebody remembers the I years. The J is better. I agree, for sure. So yeah, if you go back and do those other squares, I would just go ahead and use a J2, for sure. So hi, everybody. Oh, thank you so much. All righty. Okay, so all caught up on comments for the moment. So let me check my notes and see what else do we need to tell you guys about that. We talked about the yarn. We talked about the hook, the amount of yarn. That's a good one. On average, in my experience, a 12-inch square, and this is a big average, this is a higher end of the average, uses 150 yards of yarn. So to make all 24 squares, plus have extra for joining and edging, I recommend purchasing a total of 4,420 yards of yarn. It sounds like a lot, but that's about 150 yards of yarn times 24 with a little bit extra bumping up for that edging and border. If you are, doing something very simple for an edging or border, you may end up with a lot of leftover yarn. If you're doing a really thick and complicated border, you might you might need to pick up an extra skein. So those variables do make it a little bit harder to estimate. So that's definitely an estimate. Like I say, if you choose a yarn like Red Heart with Love, which has no dye lot, then I wouldn't worry about it. You can buy it as you go for sure. How you distribute that, how you break up those yards is up to you. Last year, or I should say this year, I used 6 colors. Next year, I'm only using 3. So I've got a lot more of each of those colors than I did when I had 6 colors. When I had 6 colors, I think I picked up 2 or 3 skeins of each color. Did I use them all? And I didn't even use 2 of them. I didn't use one of the whites and I didn't use one of the red tangerines. So like I say, you might have some extra, but extra yarn will always find a use for that, right? So yeah, that however you want to break that yarn up. Again, if you're stash busting, don't worry about it. Just dive on in. So somebody said, I've got a couple of different questions here. What size weight of yarn? Okay. We want to use a 4-weight yarn. I'm using Red Heart with Love. The designers will be using either Red Heart with Love or Karen 1 pound. Almost said Simply Soft. That one's a little bit thinner. You could use that one as well, but I think your squares will end up a little bit smaller. So either Red Heart with Love or Karen 1 pound. A USJ hook. This year I'll be using this one by Susan Bates that really does not want to be in focus. And however many colors you want to do. When it's finished, you have 24 12-inch by 12-inch squares. You can do what I did, which is make them into a 4 by 6 foot Afghan. Again, that gets a little bit bigger once you add all the joins and the border. So it's, probably closer to 4.5 by 6.5. Or you could add one more square, which is a really popular option. With 25 squares, you've got 5 by 5. You've got more of a square throw. So in past years, I've seen some people do 12 and 12 and turn it into 2 baby blankets or 2 lap blankets. Some people like to take their squares and pair them up and make pillows. So you can really, with 24 1-foot squares, you can arrange them however you like. But those are definitely some of the most common ones. If you wanted to make this for like a actual queen sized or king sized bed, you're going to need more squares. So you can either double up on the squares for this year or raid last year's, pick out different squares you like, or just find other squares you like on the internet. There's so many beautiful crochet Afghan squares out there to choose from. So the first square, as I said, will be released next week, Thursday, January 5th. And then it'll be every 2 weeks after that on a Thursday until that last one, which will be the Wednesday before American Thanksgiving. So that is the schedule. That is the yarn. That is the hook. 24 designs, 24 designers. All of them will be a surprise until that square is announced, as will the square itself. And they are to keep those free on their blog. And if their blog closes down, they are to put that up for as a download. Either they could send it to me or to Ravelry, however they want to handle that, but it needs to stay free. Past year crochet alongs. If you wanted to look at past year crochet alongs, get an idea of what we did, or to borrow some squares, add to this year, get a jump on this year's, maybe you want to do 25 squares, you want to go ahead and add one more. There are Pinterest boards for each year. And I know Pinterest can be a little funky, but these are Pinterest boards that I set up myself. So each one of those pins should take you, when you click on it, directly to that blog post, not, through some crazy search like Pinterest can do. And what I like about the Pinterest boards is that I've got it divided by year. Excuse me. So what you can do is at a glance, you can scroll through and actually see visually what all those squares look like. So that's what I love about the Pinterest boards. You can see all the squares for 2022 in one place and be like, okay, I like, this one, and this one. These are my faves or whatever it is. And then click on those and go directly to the square. I have those boards going all the way back to 2015. I did not get one for 2014, but they do go all the way back to 2015. So you've got lots of squares there to explore. And I've linked in the blog post that I've linked in the description for today's live. I've linked all of those Pinterest boards separately. So you can definitely go check those out. Somebody asked, Baskerville asked, video tutorials. Great question. Now, there are video tutorials that I link to with each square for the individual stitches. Lots of them use stitches that I have tutorials for, so I'll link to those. If the designer has tutorials, a lot of times they'll link to those within their pattern. The designer maintains full rights to their pattern. On my end, I'm choosing the designers, I'm working with them to tech edit and go through their patterns and make sure they're ready to go, to get it made in another format in my colors, so you guys can see what it looks like in my colors and get all of it arranged and on schedule. Then when I post, though every 2 weeks, on my post, I will have a link to all the past squares, the schedule, all the current information on the crochet along, the picture of my square, the picture of their square, notes on any changes I may have made, links to any tutorials that I think will be helpful, and then I link directly to that designer's square. They own full rights to their square. It's going to be on their blog. So that means they have the right to make the video tutorials for those. Some of those designers give me the rights to make a video tutorial for their squares. Some of them prefer to hold on to that themselves. Some don't want their stuff on video, and that's their choice. So if you come across a square that you think needs a video tutorial, definitely reach out and request it. A lot of designers will only make videos for their stuff if people are asking for it. And then if it's a designer who doesn't like to make videos, but maybe it's just a little particular part of that square that needs some help, a lot of times they'll give me permission to jump on and do that as well. So definitely reach out if you need video tutorials and they're not provided. A lot of the designers these days do put out video tutorials for their squares, but it's not required because not everybody's really comfortable with video. So yay. Thank you so much, you guys. Let's see, make sure I get all the questions here. So for a queen size bed, you'll definitely want to add some more squares. Like I say, you can double up or go back to past years and just add more, find other squares that you just love. Definitely lots of fun there. Somebody asked, do I do lives on a regular schedule? Trying. It's usually twice a month, but usually on Tuesdays. This one is very irregular for sure. Trying to make them a little bit more regular in 2023. That is for sure. So awesome. Okay, so we've covered the yarn, the schedule, the hook. Going over my notes, making sure I got everything in there. So if you're new to crochet, like I say, this is a good one to join. There will be some form of tutorials and other people working through them with you. The release time on those dates is 10 a.m. Central Time, which is my time zone. Let's see. So here's your idea. Somebody asked, what can you do with 24 Afghan squares? Also spelled out in today's blog post. 4 blocks by 6 blocks makes a 4 foot by 6 foot Afghan. 3 blocks by 4 blocks, 2 3 foot by 4 foot baby blankets. Add an extra square, you get a 5 by 5 Afghan. Pair them up and make pillows, you get 12 12-inch pillows. Add a bunch more, make whatever you want. It is a very loosey-goosey Afghan crochet along. Like I said, I won't even force you to actually make an Afghan. So how do you join this, right? How do you join in all this fun that's been going since 2014? I think it might be the longest running crochet along ever, but I can't prove it. You just join. You just go ahead and join. This is very low pressure. People come in, they go out. You don't have to start right away in January. If you've got a lot going on the next couple months, you're not going to be free till summer. No problem. Hop on in, join us in the summer. You can make all the past ones, or you can just join right whenever you join. There's no sign up required. You're not required to join any group. I do recommend that you join the Moogly Afghan Crochet Along group on Facebook, which I have definitely linked in today's blog post along with all the other stuff. Hugely helpful. I post every time there's a new square there. I also post it on my Facebook page, my Twitter, all my social media. TikTok, I'm trying to get on. But everywhere else I'm at, I post the links there. Of course, it's on the blog. But if you want to get notifications for this crochet along, you've got a couple of different options. There is the free Moogly weekly newsletter The sign up for that is at the very top of mooglyblog.com. It's a little bit subtle. It just kind of says sign up for the newsletter here. There's a little space. You put in your email address and you'll be all signed up. That comes out every week, generally Saturday mornings, unless something goes terribly wrong, which has happened. But generally it comes out on Saturday mornings. And that has the link to whatever the latest crochet along square is. And that square has links to all the past squares and the other information that I'm sharing with you here today. Alternatively, you can go on to this post or really any post on mooglyblog.com, leave a comment. But before you leave a comment on that post, make sure you click the notify me of future posts from this blog. I don't remember the exact wording, but it'll be clear once you get there. Notify me of future updates from mooglyblog.com, and then you will get an email every time there is a brand new blog post. Unfortunately, I don't know how to specify that for the crochet along only. It's for all blog posts, but generally speaking, I'm not making more than one blog post a day. So you'll just be super updated anytime there's a new blog post. So yay. Let's see. Julie has a great tip here, and I love this. I'm going to go ahead and read it out for everybody. She says, if you are new to crochet, it can be a good idea to wait and start each square a day or two after the release. That way, those more experienced can work through it and will be available for questions. Absolutely a great point, Julie. Thank you for saying that. And it just goes to show just how very helpful that Afghan Crochet Along group on Facebook is. I know Facebook is its own thing, but that group really is fantastic. The moderators are wonderful. I have to give a huge thank you and a shout out to all three of the moderators over there. They are the A team. They make it run smoothly. They run a tight ship, and that's what makes it great. It is drama-free. It is about the crochet along and about those squares. So a very focused group, which I think we all really appreciate. So thank you. Yes, that crochet along group absolutely is amazing. So like I say, emails go out once a week that I actually write an email. And then the blog automatically sends them out every day. If you're signed up to receive those, you'll get an automatic email just whenever a blog post posts. Let's see. So yes, and I try to link to the individual stitches. I've got lots of YouTube tutorials for the different stitches. So every time I write up a post about the square, I include, here's my tutorial for the magic circle, if it begins with a magic circle, or for, post stitches, if it includes post stitches, whatever those stitches may be, puff stitches, popcorn stitches. So even if there isn't one for the whole pattern, there's generally for the individual stitches, certainly. So what is the normal square count do you need for a full-size bed? Okay, but for a full-size bed, I don't have that one off the top of my head, what the measurements are for a full-size bed. I know for a blanket, for a queen, you want approximately 90 by 95 inches. And for a king, I think you want 100 by 100 inches. I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head for a full. Since we're working in squares that are all 12 inches, you're going to be probably a little bit over, but personally, I always like a blanket that's a little too big rather than it's a little too small. So I would say just keep adding squares until you get to the size that you like. You have to sit down and kind of do the math, what that ends up being in feet, but you can look up different blanket sizes definitely and figure that out from there. Oh, thanks. Jeff just handed me a chart. Thank you, Jeff. Always helpful with the tech stuff. It says a full-size blanket would be 85 inches by 90 inches. So both of those divided by 12. And then just divide whatever size you want. I would say look up the inches in the blanket you want. Divide that by 12 to get how many squares you need for each of those dimensions. And then that you're joining and your border will make it that little bit bigger and take you over the edge and make that blanket really generous. Let's see here. So anyway, the Facebook group is the Moogly Facebook Crochet Along group. It is linked in the blog post today on mooglyblog.com, as well as the Pinterest boards. I have set up a new Pinterest board for 2023. Doesn't have anything on it yet, but it will soon. And let's see. Somebody asked, did I make the cardigan I'm wearing? I did. Yes, thank you. This is the work from home cardigan, which is also free on mooglyblog.com and does have full video tutorials, right and left-handed here on the YouTube channel. So let's see. I just want to make sure I went over everything. I have 3 pages of notes that I printed out from today's blog post. So that'll tell you there is lots of information in there. Let's see. So as I say, the individual designers do own the copyrights for their patterns. So as always, we, ask everybody to respect those copyrights. But yeah, so all you need to do to join in now is get your yarn, get your hook, and get ready for that square. If you want to sign up for notifications or the newsletter, you can absolutely do that. And I do recommend that if you are on Facebook, you go ahead and join that Facebook group. And if you're on Pinterest, I'd say follow that board so you can follow along and see all the squares right as they go up for sure as well. Again, if you're choosing a yarn with dye lots, you may want to pre-purchase your yarn. If you are choosing a yarn without dye lots, like Red Heart with Love, then you don't have to worry about it as much. And of course, it's a great stash buster as well. And yeah, the first square will be up January 5th, 2023. Next week on Thursday. We have to start next week in order to squeeze it all in before Thanksgiving. So that is it. Let's see. Make sure I got everybody's questions here because I think that is all the details that are fit to print anyway about it. So yay. Oh, thank you so much, Marcy. I'm so glad. Yeah, unfortunately with Love has discontinued a lot of colors, Elaine, and that is a real pity because I do love that yarn as well. Marcy said she used Kieran 1 pound last year and it was wonderful. So good. I'm glad to hear that's going to be our other alternative for this year for sure. So yeah, I think, somebody said they're planning on using an ombre. Where'd it go? Lisa, I think that'll be absolutely beautiful and I cannot wait to see it. I think that will be really, really lovely. My very first Afghan like this that I made was, I want to say, oh gosh, maybe 2009, 2010. And what started me on this was I had come across a monthly crochet along. They were only making 12 squares total. And it was run on Ravelry, like I say, way, 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 way back. And I really loved that idea. And I actually did all my squares in one color, in Care and Simply Soft, all in white. But of course, once I got started, 1 square a month wasn't enough for me. I had to go find more. Ended up making a good sized blanket. I don't remember exactly how many squares it had in it. But I made them all in white and I just thought it was really beautiful and lovely. After I started Moogly and I started blogging, I shared a picture of that blanket that I had made years before I started blogging. And everybody loved the idea so much. We said, okay, let's do this. Let's start one a little bit more often than once a month, 1 square a month, and let's make this Moogly Crochet Along happen. So that was 2014, I think, was our first year. We actually kicked off, and it's been going ever since. December, there are no new squares. Like I say, that last one is the Wednesday before American Thanksgiving. Then we've got that last month of the year very busy with other things as well. But then you can take that time to assemble your Afghan and add your border, weave in your ends, and have it ready for a Christmas gift if that's what you want to do with it. I get lots of questions about what I do with my Afghans every year, and I definitely give most of them away once I get those ends woven in. That's always the challenge. Let's see. Somebody did some math for us. Thank you so much. It just says Facebook user. I'm sorry I can't call you out by name, but thank you. She says if you went 7 by 8 squares, it would be 84 by 96 plus whatever joinings and borders, or you could go 6 by 7 for 72 by 84. I think, yeah, some great options here. You just have to kind of figure out what size you want and how many squares you're going to need. A little bit of math, depending on which one you like. So yes, Julie, thank you so much. Definitely. If you guys are watching this, be sure to hit the like button. I appreciate all your comments as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead and spread this. This crochet along is free. You need to get your yarn. I'm not going to send you the yarn. You need to have your yarn and your hook, your internet access, and I guess a way to get on the internet. But other than that, it is completely free. The designs are free. They promised to keep them free as long as we keep this whole internet thing going. They're going to be up and available. So it's a great way to improve your skills if you've been crocheting for a little while, and really expand your skills hugely if you're a new crocheter. That's one of the things I loved about it, and I got so excited about it when I did the blanket that I did, was because I realized I was learning new skills and learning new stitches all the time because of these squares. So I'm really excited to continue bringing that to all of you guys. Lisa asks, this was my first year joining. I have not started my join. Any helpful suggestions on how to get started? Absolutely. Like I say, I'm a big fan of the tight braid join, which is one that I came up with. Like I say, it's a variation on some other ones out there. I like it because it's not as lacy, but it's still really flexible. So when you join, I would recommend that you not sew the squares together. Some people really like to do that. If you love that look, absolutely do it. But personally, I prefer to use a lacier join. And what do I mean by lacy? Let me pull this one up a little bit closer here so we can take a look at it. Here, right there, I'm going to put my hand behind it so it's a little easier to see. That right there is a corner where I've got all my joins. All my squares are joined together here. And what I do is I single crochet, I chain a couple, skip a couple stitches, and single crochet again. It's kind of hard to do this backwards and upside down for the camera, but I think you get the idea. And there is a video tutorial for this join as well. And what this does is it allows me to skip 2 stitches when I need to, but like say, for instance, this square didn't have as many stitches along the edge as this one maybe. There, I only skip 1. So including the loop I put at the corners, I usually do 15, I call them 15 loops on each side. So I count both the corners in that. So it'll be 1, 2, 3 across. I make those loops on one square. Then on my second square, I come in and I start joining to those loops as I work around it. Like I say, there is a video tutorial for it that's going to explain it a lot better than me just holding this up at the camera. But I like a little bit of a lacier join because you can fudge it. Because each of these squares is designed by a different designer, they're going to have different stitch counts on that final round. They're usually within a sort of short range, but in order to get them to join up evenly, I like to have the same number of loops to join to on each side. And that means you want to pick something that lets you, like I say, fudge it a little bit. Most of the times I'll skip 2 stitches. Sometimes I'll only skip 1. Maybe this one had a lot of stitches along the side, so this time I'm going to skip 3. It all, you just want to play with it a little bit, you know? Anybody who's going to sit down and count through and say, well, this time you skipped 2 and this time you skipped 1, you know, they're not there to enjoy the blanket. They're there to pick on you, so you don't have to listen to them anyway. I would say use whatever join appeals to you. There's lots of really beautiful ones out there. I believe in the last square for this year, I did link to a whole blog post that I think it started out with like 10 or 12 joins in it. It's up to something like 14 now. Lots of options there and lots of options for borders as well. I've got lots of borders on my site, but there are so many options for borders out there. You know, there's new books. Kristen Umdahl just came out with a book with 100 crochet edgings in it. Edie Ekman has a couple books out there with crochet edgings. So hundreds upon hundreds of edgings to choose from. Someone asked, do you block your Afghans? I do not block the finished whole Afghan, but I definitely do block the individual squares as I make them. Whole lot easier to block 12 inches than to block, 4 feet by 6 feet. That's for sure. And blocking the squares ahead of time does just even them out a little bit, makes them a little bit easier to join. Once they're joined together, I don't block them anymore. And once they're joined together, after day, I've taken the pictures, I've shown it off. This is going to be a blanket for our family. It's going to get thrown in the washer and dryer. Probably never going to get blocked again. It's going to get loved and used like I think every good blanket should be. But yeah, I definitely do block the individual squares. For method, since this is acrylic yarn, I use 100% acrylic yarn. I do just use a water block. Is it permanent? No, but again, it's a family blanket and it's going to be a real practical use item, not something I'm submitting to like the state fair. If I was submitting to the state fair, I would probably steam block them to make that blocking a little bit more permanent. But for me, just a little bit of water blocking to make them look nice so I can join them up well is really all I'm looking for. I have a wooden board with pegs that I use to block them, but you could also certainly use safety pins and an old towel, or actually, the blocking boards and the official blocking pins, whatever you like to use for sure. Okay, so I think that is all the questions. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Happy New Year, of course. I hope 2023 brings amazing things, and I hope it is kind to our crochet along. Like I say, we've been going since 2014, so it's been quite a journey, but not one I am ready to end for sure. It's been a lot of fun, and we're going to keep on going. So Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you have a fantastic and safe and healthy weekend. And we'll be back Monday with a brand new giveaway on Moogly blog that might have some more edging options in it. So I'm going to say about that. And then we'll have our first new crochet along block on the 5th, which will be Thursday of next week, which means I need to break open these skeins and get making it myself. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Like I say, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody.